So I have the pleasure today to be joined by Austin Kelly, who runs the new Christian channel, which is streaming amazing programs. So, Austin, do you just want to give us an introduction into this amazing apostolate that you've started that so many of us have been crying out for a long time that we would have something like this?
Yeah, thank you, Robert, for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. Yeah, the Christian channel started about 5 years ago. My background is in marketing, and my background's working with celebrities. And just like everyone else, that works really hard. You come home from a long day's work, and you go turn on the TV, and what do you see on TV? Well, 5 years ago, you see shows called Lucifer. See shows about witches, but there wasn't really a Christian channel. At the time, I just wanted to binge the Bible. I wanted to binge the lives of the saints. And so, with the help of great influencers, we ended up launching the Christian channel 5 years ago. We ended up streaming classic films. I think we have a few of them on there still called The Bells of St. Mary's. And then we started developing our own original content. So I'm really happy to be here to kind of discuss the new flagship show that we developed through the help of online crowdfunding. And I'm really excited to talk about our new show, Knights of the Cross.
Yeah. And so people are not wondering here, Austin Kelly, you are Catholic, by the way, even though the channel is called the Christian channel.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
raised Catholic, fell away from my faith, and I didn't really know my faith. I when I was working in media and working with celebrities, I was kind of your typical Catholic, sinning 7 days a week, receiving communion. But there was a turning point in my life. I live in Los Angeles. I'm currently in Los Angeles. As you know, 5 years ago, the world changed a
Mm,
lot.
yeah.
So this is when we started seeing riots on the street. This is where we started seeing men and women tearing down statues of Junipero Serra. We started seeing our cathedral, not our cathedral, our mission, our old Catholic mission, the San Gabriel mission in Los Angeles, get burned down by a crazy arson. So that was the turning point for my faith. And that was the turning point where I said, God, use my talent for you, to point people to you, because I am not a celebrity. I work with celebrities. And I knew back then this powerful word that now is very popular by a little popular saint called Saint Carlo Acutis, which was influencer marketing. That was my specialty. I never talked about it, but back then there wasn't even a word called influencer marketing. So what I did was I did a typical casting call. I reached out to the most influential Christian and Catholic content creators. And I said, hey, why don't you join me? We're going to start crowdfunding films. And that's what we're here right now. We're talking about a TV miniseries collaboration with J. Stephen Roberts from the Real Crusades history. It's like the top
Yeah.
one or two Crusader channels on YouTube. And we crowdfunded a TV show, and we made a cinematic TV show for the fans that is now streaming on christianchannel.com.
Yeah, and I was previewing it, and I thought it was fascinating, and it's fascinating to see your content. We've been back and forth on email, and I was just there thinking, this has such a great capacity to engage people and influence them, and you're really in the midst of this digital missionary age, whether you realize it or not. You're in the midst of cutting edge. Um, well, evangelization, really, in the sense that we don't want people stuck in front of a screen. This is just a launching point to get out and meet people in the community, to get together, to meet people. And I think it's an amazing apostolate. I'm just going to share, if you don't mind, should we? I just share the channel with people so that they can get a visual view on this interview.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let me just see. Um, Let me get this. So I think I'm sharing my page with you. So I just pulled up. It's called thechristianchannel.com. Pretty easy to remember, and the some great content here. I love the Shroud of Turin, um, because I think that's such a powerful. It's the science behind that artifact are amazing. But what you have in here, the this new series called Knights of the Cross, two-part cinematic miniseries. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And people, if they want to watch the trailer, they can also do that. Do you want to just give us a kind of just a summary of how you got to produce this, and what were your challenges, and what has been the reception and so forth?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. So this project was inspired by J. Stephen Roberts. J. Stephen Roberts is the owner of the Real Crusades History YouTube channel, and he reached out. We wanted to make a film. He had the bug, as we call it in Hollywood. We have this acting bug. He had a bug to make a feature film. Just like in your channel, you have the bug to make, Poem of the Man God, a mini series, as you say in your channel. We ended up doing a collaboration where we would crowdfund the funds to produce a cinematic Hollywood style film about King Richard the Lionheart. But we did not want to rob our audiences of the spiritual aspects of the Crusades. And one thing that I wanted to point out to defend our faith, remember, we were talking about the attacks of our churches, the attacks of tearing down statues of Emperor Sarah. Well, the core of that is the media portraying this argument that, the Crusades were bad. That's not true. And I'm here to tell you right now, the Crusades were a good thing. We should not be ashamed of the Crusades. And that's the whole point of the show. The show is not a fictional show. It's a show of history meets drama. Just to remind you, this is a narrative about King Richard the Lionheart. This is not a documentary. So the whole point of the show is to get the secular, the people that are not religious, to watch a cinematic, action-packed, bloody gladiator type of Catholic film to understand the whole history of the Crusades. And I will say one thing: we did get pushback from, I'm not going to say the university's name, but it's a very big university in Southern California. And one of the professors was a Muslim professor, and she had every right to be upset and to write us letters saying, you guys should not be producing the show. I have a correction. We've never heard back from her again, because the show is historically accurate. That is a problem with Hollywood. They produce Catholic content, or they produce Christian historical content with immense false history. And it gets not only Christians upset, it gets Muslims upset. So I
Yeah.
share that frustration with the Muslims, but we produced a show. We've hired Muslim actors. We've hired, a lot of people behind the scenes, like literally hundreds of people got involved with this project. So it is not a typical Christian film that you see at the, I'm not going to name channels, but like, a rom-com. This is historically accurate, action-packed, Catholic. And, the one thing when we screened the show in Park City, Utah, where they host the Sundance Film Festival, we screened the show. And the one thing comment I get from other Catholics is that we want more.
Yeah.
That's great to hear, but these shows do cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce. So we need more Catholics subscribing to the christianchannel.com. We need more Catholics knowing about us. And it really doesn't take that many Catholics to make a big impact in media.
Indeed, indeed. And as I said, as I'm showing here, people can go and sign up to this channel to support this. And I suppose what I'm really calling on Catholics to do, Catholic media isn't doesn't have, these not everybody's lucky to be a Mel Gibson and to have, a massive budget behind you. But if we don't support with funding for these projects, it's very, very hard to get them to grow. And I think we saw with The Chosen, there was, there's this crowdfunding where we need to kind of use this media to help us with evangelization. The Knights of the Cross, my family fought in the Crusades. So many centuries ago. So we have, because I descend from Normans, and so I found the topic interesting, and I have a ton of literature on that particular topic as well, which as people need to historically study, and you will realize, look, Europe was under threat, Christians were under threat, and we couldn't just sit back while it's not to offend Muslims, but we couldn't just sit back while our women and children were being, well, taken as slaves or or, or much more. I think people should just read history to know it, and it's just we need to study history to understand it. But I do think that the website and the project is truly, it's so badly needed, but it's back to the laity now, guys, us, to help fund these projects, these media projects, so that, you know, we can inspire people with what is true, good, and beautiful. Because as you said, like if you look on Netflix sometimes, you know, all of the witchcraft, the Lucifer stuff,
Hmm.
it's filling people what is with false, ugly, and disgusting,
Hmm.
and demonic, and openly so. Uh, you know, the nonsense that our kids are, what that kids are being fed. And you know, a lot of families are looking for content that is, you know, look, it doesn't have all of this infiltration from the different ideologies. We know, let's have content that truly reflects our values and what is true, good, and beautiful. So I think that's it's good that you're doing this project. Is there any other areas that you'd like to venture into, like other topics that you'd like to develop, and maybe this might inspire people to reach out and help you?
Yeah, so right now we're actively pitching for our next film. So I'm not really hiding my cards like in the poker table. I'm being honest about it. So right now we're pitching the movie, a cinematic film about Our Lady of Guadalupe. That's been a big project that we've been wanting to do. One, because in Los Angeles, this is because of Los Angeles. We're doing this film because I love the Mexican people of Los Angeles, and the Mexican people of Los Angeles and the world, you know, they get tattoos and they're very proud of Our Lady of Guadalupe, but they don't really know the story or the drama of how much she loves the indigenous people, how much she loves all of humanity. It is a very big project to tackle, and I believe the budget for that film is roughly $3 million. So I'm actively meeting some of these executives, presidents of studios, as we talked off air, and we're trying to raise funds for these films. And I have to tell you and your audience something, that I'm not optimistic at what I'm coming out of these meetings.
Yeah,
So as we said, the only way I believe we're only going to make movies like Our Lady of Guadalupe, a cinematic narrative of 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 what had happened, with child sacrifice and the apparition and little Juan Diego. I believe the only way projects like great Catholic projects could be made is through the laity.
yeah,
I believe 3,000 people contributing, pledging, crowdfunding $500. That's your production budget. That's 1.5 million. You need another 1.5 for marketing and distribution for getting it in theaters so you could, recoup your funds. The reality is the way Hollywood's structured right now is we're not making money. A lot of us are losing our jobs, where they're outsourcing our services. Look at Mel Gibson. He can't even make The Resurrection in California anymore because of the permits, the cost of living. And they're exporting all the talented people from Atlanta, all the talented people from Texas, and all the talent all over the United States, and they're importing them, I mean, deporting them to a movie set in Rome. So I'm just saying, Hollywood, not optimistic. The good news is I am meeting with distributors, and they have been egging us on. One of the mistakes we made, and I didn't know, forgive my ignorance, I didn't know anything about the film industry. I worked with celebrities, but I
yeah.
worked with them building e-com products and putting them with Target and Walmart, and those were $1 million projects. But I didn't know anything about the movie industry. And had I known what I knew now, Knights of the Cross would have been a feature film, because everybody in Hollywood loves Knights of the Cross. It's a very cinematic, action-packed story. And so I think going forward for the Christian channel, we're just going to focus on movies, and just going to, because that's where we could get the most eyeballs. That's where we can make the most impact. And it has really humiliated and been really hard. But in many aspects of it, this digital frontier, I feel like St. Francis, because I don't have $1 million check, and I wish I had more billionaire friends. But the reality is, I am knocking on everyone's door, and saying, hey, this is something cool and new that we're doing, and no, you will know us by our fruits, you know.
Yeah.
And I believe Knights of the Cross is just a stepping stone to show the world and Hollywood, they all know who we are, that this is the kind of content we're producing, and we hope that we get more Catholic people involved.
Yeah. A film on Our Lady of Guadalupe would be truly incredible for the 500th anniversary. And there's a couple that I've interviewed in the past. They wrote a book called The Flower World Prophecy. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of prophetic elements that they understood in this image. So there's a whole story that could be told, and dramatized to bring people to understand Our Lady's miraculous apparition on the tilma. So you could, I would be truly, it would be truly thrilling. I think you would do it really well, and kind of telling that story, the befores and afters, the prophecies and the apparition and the growth afterwards. I think it would capture people's attention and imagination, and our Lord, that the Spirit can work through some of these things to change the world in unexpected ways.
Indeed. And, that's the power of cinema, right? When you watch Passion of the Christ, how many people became Catholic or, that were atheists or agnostic and saw a movie like Passion of the Christ and said, you know what, I'm going to go back to church. I'm going to go back to my, evangelical church, or I'm going to go back to my Catholic roots. Movies are very powerful
Yeah,
because it literally pierces the hearts of an audience member and saying, wow, God died for my sins. And I think when Mexicans are going to watch a movie about Our Lady of Guadalupe, they're going to say, wow, the mother of God came down to save all of humanity, not just the Spaniards or not just, this certain, she loves all of us. And, I believe the only obstacle that we're facing right now, we have the full support of the folks that the production team. We have full support from the actors. It's Hollywood. We're just having a hard time with the financier, the financing, the kickstart projects like this because listen, there's no conspiracy behind it. It's just we're losing a lot of money. That's the conspiracy. These movie cinemas, I don't think are going to be around in the next 5, 10, 20 years. I mean, everything's on their phone, everyone's scrolling, and it's honestly, this is where I get, my tinfoil hat, right? But if you think about it, with the messages of Fatima, she said in the very end, they're going to try to destroy marriage and the family. Look at the chaos that we're living through right now. Do you think it's an accident that there's shows about Lucifer,
yeah,
the demonic, influencing young girls to expose themselves online and to make, to become an influencer? I have to say, we are under attack, and it's really not. It's rooted in destroying marriage and the family, because if you could destroy not only destroy and put your life in sin, but literally obliterate your life, dude, like, media is your babysitter. When mom and dad are working, who do you think babysits the kids? The TV. And who
yeah,
is influencing the TV for the past 50 to 60 years? Well, hello. So we have a problem. And and it only takes us, literally a small group of people to make such a world of impact. You know what I mean? Because let's say we do this. Let's say, Robert, we have 3,000 people crowdfund $500 to get their name featured on the ending credits, which is the same model we did with Knights. We make a movie, it makes 300, maybe $600 million in the box office. Boom, we're now in the level of New Line Cinema, now in the level of Lionsgate, and we're off to the races, and we're making all these great Catholic films. Maybe Poem with a Man God, maybe The Life of St. Francis. Or maybe there are good people in Hollywood. We interview celebrities on our podcast. Rob Schneider has the scripts for Shroud of Turin. That project is ready to rock and roll. Joe
yeah,
Mantegna has the Padre Pio script. The guy looks just like Padre Pio, the older Padre Pio. So there's a lot of people in Hollywood that want to make Catholic saint films, and they are devoutly Catholic. But the problem is we in the Catholic world, unfortunately, have a hard time supporting each other. That's number one. It's rooted in pride. sometimes, these Catholic podcasters like, hey
Yeah.
man, I'm not going to have you on because that's my fans. Those are my audiences. Go pound sand. I'm like, okay. So it's rooted in pride. Who do you think's in charge of that, Robert?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
do you
I
think? Who
know.
do you think Pinocchio's all this stuff?
Well,
Yeah. So
the thing is, in America, you've got famous big podcasters like Matt Fradd's and all these that Essential Presents and all this. Over here in Europe, we're not so advanced yet. Definitely not in Ireland. We're so, but you are so right. But if Catholics can band together on this and focus on some good projects, Our Lady of Guadalupe being one, which appeals to everybody across the board, and do a very historically beautiful and moving film. I mean, what could happen in the film industry? I love your vision. I think it's very inspiring, and I hope it has inspired me, and I hope it inspires other Catholics to get on board with this.
yeah, we're not the only ones. There's not many of us, right? I have to give credit. Last night we were off air before we recorded. We were talking about a beautiful film called Triumph of the Heart,
Yes.
about Saint Maximilian Kolbe, the impact that had, and the sacrifices it took to make that film. At the Christian channel, we interview celebrities, we promote other people's content because I know personally, working 16-hour days on the movie set, you people literally sacrifice blood, sweat, and tears on these
Yeah.
movies. And Mark and Anthony, who helped develop that project, it took years for them to make that. And if there was only more of a rally cry from the lay people saying, hey, I'm gonna stream that film, I'm gonna give them a little bit of money. We do not, I don't, we do not have a digital alliance.
No.
Digitally, we're kind of like, we have a knife on the table right now in Catholic media. Like, forget you guys. This is about my project, my money. Don't, this isn't a cottage industry. If we all rally together and rise in the tide, we could defeat the enemy. The enemy really just cares about destroying marriage and the family, really cares about, obliterating our culture. I feel bad for Gen Z. Gen Z is the most depressed, loneliest
Yep.
generation I've ever seen in my life. And I'm a millennial, okay? So, I make mistakes, but at least, millennials are coming back to the faith on fire. We see Shia LaBeouf becoming Catholic. We see Rob Schneider on fire Catholic, and they're going to the Latin Mass. One thing that our younger generations realize, we want true and beautiful art. And there's nothing more true and beautiful than the tradition and the roots of the Catholic faith. I'm not surprised that we get attacked saying, "Oh, you guys are rad trads." I'm like, guy, what's wrong with celebrating a mass that we've celebrated for thousands of years? I find it frustrating, and it's frustrating, and we're going to go through this period of frustration for a bit because the people in Catholic media, they view it as a cottage industry. That's not the truth. The truth
No.
is, it doesn't take that many people to set the world on fire. It literally takes 3,000 fans to rally behind one project. If you don't believe me, look at The Chosen.
Yeah.
Look at that. That was
Yeah.
less than 10,000. That was like maybe 14,000 fans giving $100 here and there. They raised $10 million. What are the fruits of that?
Yeah.
I wish we had more Catholic projects like that, but no. They paved the road. It's time for the Catholics to come in and to make great Catholic cinema because the reason why the Catholic Church is true and beautiful because it's true and beautiful, and so we need more artists to make great content.
Yeah. And that it's very interesting. I just happened to look at Triumph of the Heart yesterday. It popped up on my Facebook, just an advert. And I hadn't heard anything about that movie. And but I lived in Poland. I've been to many of the places where St. Maximilian Kolbe worked. Went to the cell where he died. And so I said, oh, I'll click on and see what this movie is like because some Catholic movies are hit and miss. And I watched the movie and said, wow, how come they haven't given this movie more promotion? And it's so well acted. And it's not like shoestring budget actors here. It's really well. I mean, I was in tears towards the end of it. I'm not going to spoil the ending because it's. I mean, I don't think any Catholic could watch that movie and not be in tears at it. But I said, why are we not giving the? I mean, it's up there with Mel Gibson's The Passion for me. Um, for me, but I don't know why it didn't get as much promotion really as it should have. And I suppose you're kind of echoing what I was thinking yesterday. Why aren't we doing more in the Catholic as Catholics to do this? Because the generation, the 15 to 25-year-olds today, and you're talking about them not being depressed. I can attest to that. I can attest to the problems that they're facing. In Ireland, we have a rampant problem with depression and suicide in that generation, which, very, very few people want to say, well, what is causing that? Because you're not dying of hunger, you're not homeless, you're not being refused education, you've got the latest mobile phone, you've got clothes. We have met your needs, but we're not meeting their spiritual needs.
Mhm.
We're not opening them up to the transcendent. Really, the encounter, the spiritual dimension of our life has to be nourished and fostered. And I think your project is definitely filling that gap. It has to. We have to reach people where they are and to bring them to Christ as best we can. So, like, I hope whoever's listening to this video, to this interview, because it'll arrive to where it arrives, does get behind your project. Uh, you're looking for 3,000 subscribers, 3,000 people to fund this. And maybe somebody feels inspired to fund a little bit more, but if we don't do it, we'll never get results. And I suppose that's the call to those that are listening to do it. And there's so many various projects that could be done in this. I mean, Maria Valtorta, her books were never officially approved by the church, but they have sold 10 million copies. I mean, from a little tiny publisher in Italy. I mean, how many Catholic authors manage that reach across multiple translations all over the world? It was really a lay-led project, because a fascinating phenomenon, and I really do think your project could be something like that. If we could get a movie that captures the attention, the imagination, and the hearts of people, to have it, a box office hit, which like The Passion was back in its day. I think it would drive people to think a little bit more.
Yeah, for us in this industry, we have to work backwards. So, forecasting,
Yeah.
marketing, it's just like any product out there. But it's more than a product for us. Like, obviously, when I say 3,000 subscribers, I think it's like $4 a month, $4.09 a month, American to subscribe to the Christian channel. You get hundreds of documentaries, hundreds of great classic films that you don't see on Netflix. Like, we stream The Bells of St. Mary's. And, if we had 3,000 subscribers, spoiler, I'm going to say it. I shouldn't say it. We're going to stream It's a Wonderful Life. And
Oh,
yeah, so these are classic films we want to be the Netflix. When we go to Warner Brothers and it's funny that you think that these big studios would be anti-Christian or not at all. I mean, they're capitalists at the very end of exactly. So they want somebody like the Christian Channel. When I met with them, they said, "Wow, finally a Christian Netflix. We've been waiting for you guys forever." So it's something that I think we just need to rally behind. Listen, you have the Christian Channel, you have Formed, you have EWTN. Why not subscribe to all? Don't you subscribe to HBO, Netflix, and Paramount? Aren't they all different streaming? We all have different tastes. I mean, it's like all of us having a restaurant in a very populated town. It's like I make Mexican food, EWTN makes French food. So they're different flavors, but the core message is You want content where you know that your kids aren't going to get indoctrinated. You want
Yeah.
content that your family could sit around in Thanksgiving and just enjoy watching great catechesis, you know. So I'm a big believer in film. I think the 3,000 subscribers will get us to greater content. 1,000% that's true. But the 3,000, if we crowdfunded Our Lady of Guadalupe and there was 3,000 people who want to support that for $500, get their name on the ending credits, I'm telling you, the actors would be phenomenal. Actors, they want, like we did this. Actors
Yeah.
want to work, okay? So getting Antonio Banderas or getting someone like Antonio Banderas and actors like that is not impossible for us. You'd be surprised who wanted to, I can't say their names, but you'd be surprised who wanted to be on Knights of the Cross. So it's very flattering, but actors want to work. I think people at home want great Catholic cinema art. I think we need to do a better job sharing and resharing and collaborate with other Christian and Catholic filmmakers to promote each other's work because the enemy, seriously, I don't want to bore your audience, but there is a lot of dark money
Yeah.
financing an agenda. And if I wanted to be a wealthy, rich man and live on the coast with a beach view and have a yacht, I would have sold out 5 years ago, Robert, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. But you know, I'm doing this, we're all doing this for God, and we're not focused on ourselves. And that's one message I want to say to all Catholic influencers. If you truly are doing it for God, point people to Christ or
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
Don't point them to yourself and about you and my production and my vision, my pride. If we just all support each other, we will defeat the enemy. But like I
Yeah.
said, the enemy sometimes spiritually uses pride, uses envy, uses greed to, and you know, there's a reputation in Hollywood. I don't know if you know the reputation.
Yeah. Probably.
The reputation
I,
you never trust Christian filmmakers because they're the worst.
really,
Oh,
really.
it's the biggest. Talk to any entertainment attorney, they'll tell you that. I had it, yeah, we could talk for days about it, but we have to play nice. We have to play nice and we have to be nice and we have to support each other no matter what. I think
Yeah.
so. I know, unless they're, you support projects you believe in. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
don't support. Support projects you believe in. If you want to see a movie about a particular saint, give them $1,000, give them $500, but I know the economy is really tough right now. I know
Yeah.
it's really tough. I'm not asking for your crowdfund money. All I'm saying is my message today, subscribe to the Christian channel, binge watch the lives of the saints, which we've produced and licensed, binge watch classic films. Know that what you're getting is good and fruitful. You know us by our fruits. Nobody's doing what we're doing, Robert.
Yeah.
Nobody. And it's sad. I meet with
Yeah.
executives and it's in that with these big organizations. And I'm like, guys, I have no money. You guys have millions of dollars. Why aren't you guys making a Catholic Netflix? Well, Austin, that's not a part of our priority. It is a priority because the
Yeah.
enemies out there are freaking making content, spending $40 million perverting a cartoon movie with a very famous actress, and they're kissing each other, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, we have to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only way.
Yeah, and I can't, and you're one of the few people I interviewed that actually has passion about your vision, and passion is everything. Trying to wake people up, and I believe there are 60 million Catholics in the United States, and that would be a conservative figure. I'm nearly sure you probably a little bit more, and surely within 60 million Catholics, you will find 500,000 Catholics that would be interested in like a Catholic or Christian Netflix platform. Um, do you have an app on the App Store where people can download, or is it just on the website that they have to go to stream?
Yeah, thank you for clearing that up. We used to have an app, okay, but we ran our analytics. So we are on Roku TV, we are on your smart TV. So if you do have a smart TV, I think worldwide, if you have Roku, you could find the Christian channel Roku. You could download and we do stream free content. So there are free movies and free TV shows you could watch. But primarily the premium content, like the shows that like Knights of the Cross that we're talking about today, that show, it's under a paywall. We do have episode 1 for free on YouTube. I think it has like 54,000 views.
Yeah,
So the demand's there. People love us. It's just, like I said, it takes a small group of people, lay people, to really make massive impact in Catholic cinema and Christian cinema. And I know for your audience, like, wow, that doesn't sound like a lot of people. Well, in streaming world, it is a lot of people. And that's the humble truth. Nobody tells numbers, but I'm gonna be honest because I think the world needs to know the truth
Yeah.
of how much impact 3,000 people could do.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll definitely support you on this. And as I said, the digital missionary work is so important, guys. I mean, I started my blog during COVID and didn't have kind of a project. Actually, it wasn't something I said, "Oh, wake up one morning, I'm going to do this." It was just saying, "Oh, I'll just share some thoughts on YouTube," and it grew and grew and grew. But until one day, one guy contacted me and said he was going to take his life, but he was there
Oh.
he was going through his phone on YouTube, as some people do, and he sees one of my videos, he gets inspired, he comes to one of the prayer activities we had, some of the adoration, he goes to confession, and he finds, he just speaks out, he just talks out his problems, and people can say, well, oh, okay, you have that problem. It's you can deal with it in such and such a way. You don't need to keep it destroying your life. And he found the light of the gospel brought in, a priest in confession helping him or somebody like that. And I suppose I never understood the power of this digital communication really has, and probably never will, because it's not like you will reach places that many people are not able to reach. We're able to reach into people's private when they're alone on their phone, wherever they are in their cars, or we're so that's why I'm asking Catholics specifically to please support these types of Christian projects, Catholic projects, this streaming project, because it will reach out and be able to capture people's attention and heart, and God will use it for the good if we're disposable to offering ourselves to doing it. There is a need for this space. There and more families are realizing this, because the culture has become so toxic in a lot of the media. I mean, you're talking about Hollywood. If you were to talk about the billions being made in the porn industry, and people giving, I mean, it's mind-boggling, guys. And now with the advent of AI, they're now producing AI generated porn content. So I mean, and people are consuming this nonsense. And it is one of the largest money makers in so-called in that so-called world, and people are consuming that content. Consume content that is true, good, and beautiful to nourish your soul, nourish that spiritual life. And I really, really, really do encourage people to support you, Austin. And I think, you're one of the few leaders that's advocating for this in a constructive way, that people can look to you as a leader in this area, because it's definitely not hard to lead. It's definitely hard to lead in this type of project. You need to have your head screwed on to be able to move it forward.
Thank you. No, I 100% agree everything you just said. But the reason why our shows look good, the reason why everything is so high quality is because we have such an amazing team. We work with Protestants behind the scene, and I don't want to scare your audience. When we were editing our show, Knights of the Cross, we had a bit of glitches, and I've been asking Catholics. Well, I found, I'm not going to say his name, but we need to start praying before we edit, because our Protestant editor experienced a bit of a glitch, and he said he was really spooked. And he says, "Hey, this has never happened. I've been doing this for 5 years. I don't know what's going on. The when I download the files, so we had some technical difficulties." But he walked away. We walked away from a meeting and says, it pulled me aside next to his car as we were walking to his car. And he said, who doesn't want this out? You know
Yeah.
who. This is going to be a great show. If we're having difficulty now, you could only imagine. The whole point, and I guess we only brush the surface of the show, but I want to give a quick Sparks notes to this. It's about King Richard the Lionheart in the Third Crusade. He goes to the crusade. He's from England and he lands in the Holy Land. He then falls ill. This is written history, but we took some Hollywood creative licensing with it. And then he falls asleep and he's in purgatory and he sees his father in purgatory. And his father, King Henry, is like saying, do what I couldn't have do. I should have done God's will. Now I'm here in purgatory, suffering and I'm burning, for who knows how long. And we are the only, as far as I know, the people that advised us behind the scenes was a Latin Mass priest. And we try to do this as accurate as possible. So we got a really good, talented team recreating purgatory. And the moral of the story is we have a Latin Mass in episode 1. Richard receives the Eucharist, and then he levitates in the cathedral. The metaphor of like resurrecting into life. If you catch that. Anyway, so then he wakes up from his dream, and in the ending of episode 1, he goes out to his crusaders and says, "We must fight like lions." And then he does that famous Richard the Lionheart roar. And then we open up to episode 2. I don't mind if I spoil a little bit of it, but episode 2, it's kind of like the equivalent of Empire Strikes Back in Star Wars. A lot of people died, or one of our main characters had passed away, and now you have Saladin, who's about to take Jaffa, which is inevitably is about is going to destroy Christendom for everything. So Richard Lionheart and his men go on a ship to Jaffa, and while the city is being sacked by Saladin and his men, there is a brave monk. True story. It was a brave priest who, and this is a good message for all those priests out there. We don't just sit idle. We live our faith. So this one brave priest, while the city was being sacked, Saladin put his flags up and says, "No, we conquered the city." But obviously there were still people in there. So what happened was the priest escapes the citadel, goes into a cave, swims in the ocean, and then we captured all this in camera, guys. So this isn't like some documentary. We cinematically captured all this in camera. He sees the boat, he swims out to the ocean, and he says, "Richard, there's still people in the citadel." And then what does Richard do? This is the famous Battle of Jaffa. He gets off with a few handful of men and kicks ass. And that's all I'm going to say. He just kicks a lot of ass. There's a lot of violence, a lot of, and then the
Yeah.
moral of the story is we did do a bonus scene because we can't just leave the audience hanging. We did purgatory. What do you think is going to happen next? So we fast forward 55 years later in England, and who do we see? Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Saint Simon Stock.
Yes.
And so
yes.
we did include a bonus scene for our devout Catholic fans to witness that apparition. And it's let's conclude with this.
Yeah.
Why did we call the show Knights of the Cross? Originally, we just thought it was a cool title. My background's in marketing. I just thought, what a cool title. I could tell you, 5 years making this project, it has so much more meaning. What Knights of the Cross means to me after 5 years of making it, it means God is going to give us crosses in our life. But we shouldn't pray to remove the crosses. We should be praying, "God, give me the strength to carry this cross because I can't do this without you." So that's the point of the show, is life is tough. Life is tough. It will always be tough. But God, I believe Jesus is going to help us carry the cross. And that's the whole point. For all of us are called to be knights, knights in our, but knights of Christ, the knights of Christ. That's what I think. That's the whole moral of the story. The script, Robert, literally had like 12 rewrites, 12 rewrites. Because our budgets were shrinking, and I believe God made it the way he wanted to make it. Because if I had my, $250,000 budget, this film would have been done in like 6 months. But it's been a struggle. It's been a cross in my back to complete. And the blessing is it's going to be released December 28th of 2025 on the Christian channel. And it's in talks to going on other streaming platforms because, like I said, I don't believe we should hold everything in Christian channel. I believe we should share the faith globally because, like your story with that gentleman who wanted to suicide himself, I think who knows the fruits that will come out of this show. Maybe I've heard so many stories behind the scenes, very similar to yours, and we could talk for hours about it, but movies and films have a way of piercing the hearts of people, and that's all I care about. We're not going to make a lot of money. Trust me when I tell you, we're not losing money, but we're not making a lot of money in
No.
streaming. I don't care if we're on HBO or Netflix. They're not paying us a ton of money. So that's why this mission matters. And I want the world, even if it's not me, if it's an entrepreneur or some other film auteur who wants to do this, I'm warning them, don't expect to make a lot of money. It's a very difficult road if you're an independent filmmaker, but the fruits might be saving someone's life. The fruits might be bringing someone back to the faith. So just like we could make bad content, what you had said about, pornography and all this stuff, like, we have to fight back. And the only way we could fight back is, even if it's just you and two guys in a webcam talking about Christian cinema, that's good enough. I mean, we have to fight for what resources God gives us. And I think that's what I've learned starting the Christian channel was I had my vision for it, but God has led me down a more humbling path, which is in many ways, I feel like St. Francis knocking on doors, because if I get $10, I'm spending $9, right? Because
Yeah.
and I have to be very frugal. But yeah, the whole project has been a cross, and I hope the fruits of it just brings people back to the faith.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do so as well. And I think it's, as I said, it's an amazing project, and I do encourage people to sign up. I'm going to put a link to your channel below. And is there anything before we wrap up, any other area that you want us to support you with, or any call outs or something like that? There's just to see if there's anything that we can do to further this project.
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm accepting an Academy Award. I want to thank, uh, you
Maybe
know,
someday, maybe someday.
I want to thank Robert for posting me on his podcast. No, I will do that. I will do that. I
Yeah,
will. You will
no
refresh.
problem.
So I want to say that no, I will thank one person. And Andrew Bailey is a gentleman who when we crowdfunded this project, we had perks of like coming on the movie set and dressing up in Crusader gear. So it's not like you're crowdfunding and your money disappears. Like, it's a participation, it's a community of men. And that's one thing I really enjoyed about the Christian channel and crowdfunding. It really has become a community of men supporting each other, and their passion. These men aren't rich men. They're like literally
Mm.
plumbers or like electricians, and they're contributing thousands, $10,000, $5,000 because they just believe in the project. They believe our faith is being attacked, which it's
Yeah,
true. It's true, Robert. So I guess my final message is, we could talk about the dark stuff of Hollywood. We could talk, but I guess the lightheartedness of it is, if you want more Catholic cinema, subscribe to the Christian channel on YouTube for free. If you want to support us financially, go to christianchannel.com to subscribe. It's only $4 a month. I can't say what we're working on right now because we are working on a movie. And this evening we'll be meeting one of the main actors, but I can't spoil that. What I can say is, if we do achieve the 3,000 paid subscribers, I can guarantee, I'm going to say this on camera, you will get It's a Wonderful Life. I can guarantee it. You're going to get It's a Wonderful Life and all these great classic Hollywood films that, you just can't find anywhere else. So please subscribe.
I will.
If you don't have the money, it's okay. Be a free paid subscriber. We have more saint videos coming out, and they've touched the lives of so many people. We've reached over 20 million people on YouTube, Robert, and we started like 5 years ago. I'm telling you, if we had 3,000, we would have Bishop Barron would be knocking on my door. Hey, can we join the podcast? So I'm just saying, listen, I want more Catholics to play nice. It is dirty. These guys are meanies. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
Yeah,
high school. It's my club. If you want to be a part of my community, spare me. Do me
yeah.
a favor. Pray for everybody. Pray for the Pope. Pray for the president. We're all human beings. We all fall short. Do me a favor. My last message. Just live your faith.
I
Just
would.
live your Christian faith. That's my last message. If you have to turn off the TV and unsubscribe to Netflix and all that stuff, it's okay. I'm just a passionate guy about Catholic cinema because I love the truth. I love beauty. And I know there's probably an army of lay women out there saying, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Again, very passionate, and passion sells, and that I suppose we can. It's great to see this project progress forward, and hopefully someday. And this is my hope that the poem of the man God will become a TV series, because I think I think once people see the value of that work, they might be pleasantly surprised, and it's incredibly detailed in it. So who knows? You know, you never know. I'm just giving my own thoughts, and it's if somebody wants to be inspired by that work.
Yeah,
But
Robert, you have the bug. We gotta connect when about poem of the. You know, it's funny that you said that. There is a. I don't want to walk away. There is a movie set The Chosen did leave behind. That's the thing about Hollywood that no one tells you. When the shows are done, the sets are a great ghost town. So the beautiful thing
okay,
about Hollywood. Oh yeah, I mean, we could walk to Warner Brothers right now, and they would open the doors for us because nobody's
really,
making movies. So making poem of the man god, I'm gonna save you. This is the creative director, man god, man dash god. That's the name of the project. It's not a TV series. It's a three-part trilogy movie like Lord of the Rings, and we're gonna make millions of dollars, Robert. You heard it here first, folks.
yeah,
So
yeah,
no, yeah, totally possible. But like I said, it takes a rally cry. It takes an army of lay Catholics to make things like this happen. And like I said, you know people by their fruits. Give
yeah,
money to people that have actually made movies before, that have actually directed movies before. I feel like, if you're going to go to war, you want to go to war with Patton, right?
yeah.
You want to go to war with somebody that's, like with Mel Gibson, right? You want to go to war with somebody like that. You don't want to go to war with somebody that has theories about cinema. You want to go to war with somebody that knows what they're doing. So if you like our work and you want to support us, go to christianchannel.com. And if we get 6,000, I'm calling Robert and we're going to crowdfund Poem and Man God.
Oh my gosh! Now you have me. Can I subscribe twice?
One for you and one for your kids.
I'm going to give you a very, very strange story here, just to finish up here. You've obviously heard of Grok, this AI tool that X has. When you have this capacity to make 6-second videos from a photo, so you just put a photo up there, and it makes a gimmicky video. You tell the photo what to do, and it does laugh, cry, whatever. And I happened to be preparing for kind of a video on my channel on the poem of the man, but I was focusing on Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. And
Mhm.
I had a this artist. Do I have the book here?
Yeah.
So there's this artist,
Oh, wow.
Ferry, and he has he worked with Maria Valtorta when she was alive to um to paint some of the scenes from the poem of the man God. And so you have images of Lazarus here, for example. I picked it up, Lazarus here. But anyway, I had
Wow.
I had with my iPhone, I had taken 3 photos of Lazarus, Martha, and Mary, and I had them there on my phone. And so I was just playing around, sitting on my couch and playing around with Grok. And I said, oh, I'll put Martha into Grok, and I'll bring Martha live. And she became alive. And I said, holy, this is. And within half an hour, I had created a 3-minute video from various characters in this book, right?
Mhm.
And it got like 10,000 views. And
Whoa.
what's amazing is the granddaughter of Lorenzo Ferri, he's dead now, but his granddaughter, she reached out to me, and she was kind of blown away what I had done with AI in kind of bringing these figures to life. But I had directed, laughing, crying, because Lazarus in the book, he would cry because he would cry because of Mary
Mhm.
Magdalene, who had, fallen away and disgraced the family. And but we know the happy ending. She converts and comes back.
Mhm.
But the I suppose it captured my imagination. I in 3 or 4 minutes I brought these characters to life. We could take you could take human actors and bring these characters to life as Maria Valtorta describes this, because she's very intricate and detailed. But look, our Lord will lead us, and I think there's tons of projects we could do on this, and but you know, who knows? Who knows? Again, let's get you to the subscribers you need for the projects you're working on, and let's inspire the Catholic world with the work you're doing. And I do think you're definitely passionate about this, which is a big thing, because without passion, it's very hard to move projects forward.
Amen, Robert. Amen. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'm learning about Maria Ventorta too, and Poem of the Man Gods because of your channel. As we
Yeah.
spoke off air, my father-in-law is a Maria Ventorta fan, and he gave me the big books of Poem of the
Yes.
Man God. And I was, as a Catholic, I've heard, don't read that. It's bad. It's false and this, that. And the way I view it is, well, The Chosen isn't that great either. So they're just making it up as they go on the set. And those are written by Protestants. I mean, what harm could a little Italian lady's writing do? So I 1,000% agree with you. I'm on this journey with you. I mean, so is
Yeah.
everyone else. So please produce more AI animations, because if we do make this movie, Robert, if we do
Yeah.
make this movie, we're going to go through your catalog of all your AI videos. I'm like, okay, that was a bestseller. That hit 1 billion views. That one hit 2 billion views. And we're going to take all those best scenes, and we're going to fly you out to Dallas, Texas, and we're going to film all this at the Angel Studio, or this Chosen set, and we're going to make $1 billion. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The-
let's support each other. And if it's cool with you,
yeah.
feel free to share our content. We'll share your content, and let's point people back to God. I have one last story about Catholic influencers, the good stories. I went to a Catholic event in Sherman Oaks, which is not too far away. Sherman Oaks is like in Hollywood. It's kind of like their suburb. It's like a very famous suburb.
Yeah.
And I went to a Catholic church, and we had a Catholic market, like a fair market. And a Jewish man came up to me, and he says, "Hey, my name's XYZ celebrity." And he's like, "Oh, I do music for I don't want to say the TV show, but his wife's an executive at at a movie studio. And this guy's a big shot. Okay, he has a house in Santa Barbara, a house in LA." And he pulls me aside and he says, "Hey, if you ever need music, I'll do it for free. I love the Crusader Project." And
Wow.
we ended up hiring another person, because I believe in, I don't know, I'm very picky with our films. Okay, it has to be with a certain tone. But anyways, he told me why he became Catholic. He's the only Catholic in his family, and he's Jewish. He says it was because of Jordan Peterson.
Wow.
Jordan Peterson made me Catholic. And Jordan Peterson doesn't say he's Catholic, but I love stories like your story. I love stories like his story. I love the Jordan Peterson stories. You do not know how God is using us imperfect people, right? We are imperfect. I am imperfect. I strive every day. I've been on podcasts saying I pray the rosary every day, and the moment I say that, I slip every once in a while. I'm like, oh, I missed 2 days. So forgive. I'm a human being, but I do want to say this. Please continue to support people like Robert. Please continue to support people like Jordan Peterson, because you know what? You do not know the fruits and what people are going through. If it leads a Jewish man to become a devout or a Catholic layman and going through RCIA, who knows, man? I mean, I think God only knows why they're greenlighting shows about Lucifer and witches. Maybe it's the call. For me, why we started this, I'm going to reiterate what I said before. I know we got to go. Why we started this is because my church, our mission was on fire. A
Yeah.
250-year-old mission that was older than California. Okay. San Gabriel mission was the epicenter. It was the Amazon.com it was the logistics capital of the world. Like, priests traveled from Santa Fe, New Mexico, all the way up to San Gabriel, California, to trade fur, because that was the fur economy. And they employed hundreds and thousands of indigenous people. I'm telling you, the roots of our faith, it's as if, Robert, they want to destroy it. It's
Yeah.
as if they want to destroy not only our marriage, they want to destroy our history. Listen, guy, I think these evildoers just read 1984 and said, I like that idea. Let's just do that. Like,
Yeah.
in Fahrenheit 9, that Fahrenheit 451, let's just destroy. Listen, they can't destroy our faith. And if you watch Knights of the Cross, if you listen to the very ending, they did not win the crusade. They went to England with their, not the tails between their leg, but they went to England disappointed. Sometimes you got to take deals that aren't, I hate to use Donald Trump on this, but like in the art of the deal, he asks a lot and gets little.
Yeah.
With Richard the Lionheart, he did a deal with Saladin that granted 3 years of peace. You don't think that bothered? You have to understand, Richard the Lionheart had a brother. If you guys would know Robin Hood, he had his brother John betray him, right? He left England, and his brother John was being a jerk, and he said, "This is my throne." Okay. He colluded with France to, England was in France. And anyways, Richard went through a ton of betrayal, a ton of betrayal. Okay. Where am I going with this? I guess what I'm concluding is the whole point is keep your faith. They may take your lands, they may take your property, you may be in a zillion dollars in debt, but they can't rob you of your faith. Keep the
Yeah.
faith strong and subscribe to content that you believe in. Don't if there's a Catholic influencer out there that's dividing the church, unsubscribe. It's that simple. It's that simple. Don't give them that power. Know
Yeah.
the faith, read the book of Proverbs, and support artists like Robert, myself, and other Catholic filmmakers.
Yeah. Amen. Pleasure to have you on. Really enjoyed this hour and learned a lot. And there's an Irish actor, John Connors. He has started doing some Catholic podcasting in Ireland. He's well known. So if you ever were looking for a contact, I'm sure he'd be somebody that would be interested in all of this, and he'd know more about acting. I know nothing about that word, but just giving him a call out because he's been doing some great work recently. So um, Austin, thanks very, very much for your time. Really enjoyed this whole evening. And again, I'm going to put a link below to your streaming channel, which is the Christian channel, and link people into that. And let's hope people will support this. You never know, you might get one big benefactor and launch this sky high. So let's pray.
Amen. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate being on the show, and God bless everyone. Thanks for listening.
God bless.